Board now and start it. People watch the recording. I believe a couple people even did last week that weren't able to join us. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. But before we get started, I'm just going to ask those kiddos and those that cooked last week, how many liked your chicken Alfredo with the broccoli? Was it good? Yeah. Did you like it? Thumbs up. Thumbs ups are good. So this recipe, we'll have to see if we like it or not. It has a lot of strange ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and put me up big so everybody can see me. Shelly, well, maybe. I took my video away. Huh. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do that. Huh. Is that better? Can everybody see now? All right. I got a helper in the kitchen. Her mommy might be coming in a little bit to help too. But today we're going to make this. It looks very pretty. Hopefully you found it in your recipe book. It was on page 30. And it's going to look really pretty when we get it all nice and layered, but we have a lot of work to do to get to this point. But it's called a Southern cornbread salad. And one thing that I had mentioned in the past when we're cooking is get all your ingredients out. So if you look over here, I have all my ingredients kind of stashed over there. And in our recipe, some of the ingredients. So I'm going to go over them in case you don't have them out yet. You can kind of hunt for them and find them so you can get them out and ready. But when we get ready to make our dressing, you need your mayo or a light mayo. You need, I didn't have this out yet. I need that Greek yogurt off the top thing. Jessa's going to get our yogurt for us, but we need yogurt on the top. Yep. So we need Greek yogurt. Then we needed your all-purpose seasoning. And if you read the email, I kind of gave you the heads up. All-purpose seasoning could be a variety of things, but pretty much they're talking about Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning. So you could have bought it in a pack. I buy it in the big jug because we use this in a lot of different things. So yeah, those kinds of seasonings are good. You need some dill weed. So hopefully you got some dill. If you don't like dill, I guess you don't have to put it in there. You needed some salt and pepper, some minced garlic, and that's pretty much what's going to go in our dressing. For the rest of our ingredients for the salad, and we're going to prepare everything for the salad before we start putting it together, you will need some of your vegetables, a pepper. Called for a green pepper. The store I went to didn't have any green peppers that looked good, so I bought an orange pepper. Need a red onion. You need some green onions. All this we got work to do with. We got some chopping to do. It says 2 tomatoes. And you should have had a box like this that if you did your work ahead of time, you pre-cooked and put it like this. So you had to cook it and then cut it into like 1-inch cubes. So hopefully you have that done. We got an extra box because Jessa liked the cornbread and we thought we might make some more. Needed some shredded cheese. Remember I told you I'm a lazy cook? So you might have fried bacon, or you might have bought bacon already like this, or you could have bought it even like this already fully cooked and you wanted it crumbled. So I'm going to use this because I'm all about convenience, although it does cost a little more when you do it that way. So you needed some bacon. You needed canned corn or frozen corn. So we got canned. And then you needed your beans. Now, I got 3 cans of beans sitting here because it calls for kidney beans. Jess and I think we're going to turn this way a little bit so the glare. I'm going to put these white northern beans in it because I don't like kidney beans and I like these a little better. But if I was making it and Jessa wasn't eating it and it was just her mommy and I eating it, I'd put what in it?
You pick black beans.
I'd put black beans in it because I love black beans. But who doesn't like black beans?
Me.
Jessa doesn't like black beans. So even though it called for red kidney beans, I mean, you can put any kind of bean in it that you want. So that's why I had 3 cans of beans out here. I'm not putting 3 cans of beans in it, but I just wanted to let you know it's your recipe. And yeah, Jessa doesn't want 3 cans of beans in it. You can put anything in it that you kind of want that you like because it's yours. Something else I thought that might even be good in this salad as we were making it could even have been some peas. Like if you had some frozen peas and you wanted to add it in as a layer, that would also be good and be good in your recipe as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this recipe. And in this recipe, we're going to start with making our dressing. So I got me a bowl here. We're going to work on making our dressing. So I'm going to angle this down so you can see what Jess and I are doing some in our bowl. But if we're following the recipe, the first ingredient in our recipe is our Greek yogurt. And our Greek yogurt, it calls for 1 cup. Now, one thing you can like dressing, like when you're baking, let me get you a spoon. Not when you're baking, but when you're cooking, you can kind of guess at your measuring if you want, or if you got your cup measurer. I'm gonna let Jessa spoon it into my cup till we have a cup. So if you want to follow along and do the same, she's going to keep spooning that into there until we have a cup worth in my bowl. And hopefully without her making too much of a mess. Okay, and everybody else should be measuring their cup worth. And if you have more than you need, that's not a bad thing. Big spoons. Keep your finger over because you're getting another cornbread. Keep going. Keep going. Greek yogurt's really good to make dressings with. A lot of times you use mayonnaise. They tend to be a little more high fat.
Take my watch off.
Yeah, you better take your watch off. Okay. So we've got our Greek yogurt in our cup measure, and then I'm just going to put it out of my bowl. So you're going to do the same after you get it all measured. And then I can discard my cup. I'm going to get Jess a paper towel to wipe her hands off.
It's cold in there.
Okay.
It's cold.
I'll set that to the side. So in my bowl, I got my cup of Greek yogurt. Next thing in our recipe, it calls for 2 teaspoons of low-fat mayonnaise. So if you have measuring spoons out, you can measure it. But I'm not going to measure it because I already got a lot of dishes I'm going to have to do. So I'm just going to kind of squirt. 1, 2. And that's going to be my 2 teaspoons of light mayo. So you can spoon it in there the same way too if you wish, or you can measure it in your teaspoon measurer, which is usually the second one down from your tablespoon. So after you got that, we're going to use 2 teaspoons of our all-purpose seasoning. So that's this, or your ranch dressing. So if your ranch dressing's in a pack, you might want to pour it into something. And I'm going to get the, and then I'm going to let Jessa dump it in the bowl. So however you want to do. Here, let me get it. There you go. Dump it in. All right, so we got our 2 teaspoons in there.
When we're done, can I mix when we're done?
Put that back out of the way up on the spice shelf. After that, we got our dill weed. And it's the same amount of dill weed, 2 teaspoons. Now remember, if you're not a huge dill fan, you don't have to put this in, but we're going to do the same thing with our dill weed. We're going to use our teaspoon measurer. I'm going to pop off this. All right. Use your teaspoon. We're gonna get it down in there. Okay, 1. If you like dill, you can put more of it in. So Jessa didn't quite get a whole teaspoon when we were doing it, so I'm gonna have her do one more little scoop. And I like dill. All right. Not yet. After that, we got our pepper. It says quite a bit of black pepper. It says about the same amount. So I'm just gonna let Jessa shake that in there.
I'll hold it, you can pass.
And then on our salt, we don't need as much. So I'm gonna put it on shaking. Maybe.
Maybe.
I can find my holes. And let Jessa just shake some in there.
It's getting it everywhere.
Okay. So once you have that all together, you're going to take your whisk, if you have a whisk, because that's sometimes the best thing to mix with,
Yeah.
and kind of just mix it all together.
You can do it first. I'm gonna not.
And it looks like a dressing. It looks like a dip.
That
Looks like
good.
something you could dip carrot sticks
That
in.
looks good. Looks like carrot dip.
And if you're the only one, like, you know.
Last time we ate our carrots instead of cutting them up.
Yeah. Okay, and then you have a tip.
Davis
You can kind of see there's kind of glare.
And I got them too. Because it was food.
Did you mention the garlic? I didn't hear.
Oh, I missed the garlic, didn't I? Thank you.
Okay.
It's odd because that's my favorite part. All right, so we're going to, it says for 1.5 teaspoons of minced garlic as well, or 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. So we're just sticking some garlic in there. Mix that up a little bit. Mixing a little more.
Hi, Lola.
Hi, buddy. Okay, there we go. And we got our dressing. Thank you, whoever reminded me that we missed that, because I did not notice. I had forgot to put that in. Okay. All right, I'm going to set this aside because if it has time to marinate all those flavors together some, that will be a very good thing. Okay, so the next thing in a recipe is basically then getting all of the rest of our vegetables together. So if we're looking at our salad, we have our beans, we have our corn, we have our onions, our pepper, our tomatoes, our bacon. So a lot of that needs to have a lot of chopping done. So our next little bit of time, we're going to be working on our chopping skills. And Jessa wants to show you something really quick. Last week, I mentioned something about a kid-safe knife. This is what a kid-safe knife looks like. So this is what Jessa will be working with in the kitchen. I will tell each of you that's on tonight. I have 6 of these at the office. So if you come in and say, I was doing this cooking thing with Kenna and she said I could have one of these knives, I will make sure you get one of these knives. And they tend to be, they can still cut you. As Jessa said, they're still sharp, but they're a little more kid friendly. So, yep. Kendall, you come in and pick that up. And anybody else that might want one. Jessica, you remind me to send one home with Miss Kay for Casey. All right, we're gonna do some chopping and we're gonna start with, we'll start with our red onion so we can get the crying out of the way first.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jessa's not gonna work on our red onion yet, but in one of our previous classes, like the very first one we did, we cut an onion. And if you remember what I told you about cutting an onion, you're going to cut your onion to begin with from the root to the stem. Okay, so you're cutting it in half this way. A lot of times when we cut onions, we cut them in half this way, but we're going to cut them in half this way. So I'm going to, I don't think your knife will be quite sharp enough, even though they're kid knives, it might not be sharp enough to cut this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use my knife till we get to smaller pieces.
Yeah.
You're going to hold your knife, remember? Really firm and tight. And then I'm going to cut
Ooh.
down.
Mm.
I thought for a minute Shelly was going to have to do my cutting for me because I had a bum shoulder, but it's getting a little better. So then you end up with half an onion like this. And then I'm going to cut off the stem. So I'm going to cut that stem off.
Do you want?
Not yet.
Oh,
Yep, if you want to work on cutting that part off, you could. And then you're just going to peel back all that extra. So it's just like peeling an egg.
yeah, I can't peel that.
Peel off all that extra.
You want me to peel off?
Not yet. Just sit patient. Okay. So try to get all that pieces. I have a little bad spot on mine, so I have to get down another layer. So then we got these layers that are coming off. I'm going to go ahead and get my other one to that same point. I'm going to cut off that little stem and not that part.
Okay.
Then I'm going to peel off
I want
the
that.
outside. Okay, while Jessa's peeling that one, we'll go ahead and work on this onion. Okay, so if you remember, we're going to curl our hands.
Ooh.
And we're cutting from the root out, but not all the way through. And we're just kind of like fanning it out. If you like red onion, you're going to want to put, when you get to a point, you can bridge your hand, you can bridge it, but just make sure you're protecting your fingers while you're going. Don't rub your eyes.
Why?
Because onions will make your eyes water. Don't, you're all to get it. Okay, once you've got it fanned out, like this, and you're going to take your knife and rock it and just cut it on down. I really like onions. Jessa, do you like onions?
Nah, because they make your eye water.
Jessa doesn't care as much for onions because they make their eyes water. If you have a pretty big onion, you might not need more than a half of your onion in your recipe.
My knife, I want to do it. Yeah, I want to do it.
Okay, watch your hand. All right, so that's half of it. And I'm going to work on the other half.
That Jessa tried to walk on.
That Jessa tried to work on. And remember, you're cutting it from the point and fanning it out. Jessa don't like onions. That's why we're doing it first and getting it over with. Get the crying done to begin with. And then we're chopping it. Okay. We should be good.
Are you done with the onion?
Mm-hmm. All right. Once I got that done, I got all my onions chopped. I'm just going to set them to the side. How are we doing on our chopping? Do I got? Fill this back up.
Everybody is doing pretty good. Got a thumbs up from Callie.
Okay. Anybody else crying like Jessa? She says she's going away for a little bit. She doesn't like it. I'm going to get rid of the onion peels and that might help some too. That was a strong red onion we had in our kitchen.
We cheated and bought some chopped onions.
Do what?
We cheated and bought some diced onions.
Oh, they didn't have to
Pre-diced.
cry. You missed out on the crying.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, good. Glad you did not have to cry with us. All right, I'm setting my onions aside. The next one thing we're going to work on is our bell pepper. So she had to go outside and get some fresh air on her eyes, she said. So I got my bell pepper. I want you to watch this when cutting your pepper. I'm going to angle down.
Does this make you water?
No, the pepper should not make us cry. So usually if you're cutting a pepper, the easiest thing to do with cutting a pepper is to like just cut it all 4 sides off of it.
Yeah, I want to cut 4 sides of
Well, I'll let you cut it in a second.
Okay.
You can chop it,
it.
okay? And then you end up with just your core kind of left in the middle. So when you're cutting your pepper, you end up with these 4 nice little slice pieces from the side, and then you end up with your core in the middle. And with each of these pieces, remember that I'm going to face them up, and then I'm going to slice them in these little julienne strips,
Okay.
because the upside keeps it flatter on the countertop than the bottom side. Mhm. And then you end up with these little strips, and then you can go back and chop it. So Jess is working on hers with her knife. I'm going to work on these with mine,
It's good right now.
and you work on it
And it's fell.
with yours. How about if I give you a little piece to chop here in a second? You're doing good. Careful. Now cut that one into little pieces.
Okay. Say some for me.
So she's going to work on chopping them. I'm going to work on stripping them. There's one right here. And we're protecting our fingers as we're doing it,
Yeah.
because we don't want to get our fingers cut.
No, because I already had a bad bleed a day ago.
Yeah, you
I don't
could.
want to. I fell off a swing and I had a bad bleed. Ugh. That was hard to get.
Mhm. Don't stall, just push. Push with the back part. Okay. If you don't like peppers, this is one thing you could leave out of the recipe as well. But I told you we're going to have a whole lot of chopping to do. Logan, did you buy your peppers already chopped too, or are you chopping peppers? There's a strip. Logan, go to the bathroom, please.
What did you
Monica
say just now?
I
What did
said,
you
did
say?
Logan buy your peppers already chopped too?
He's chopping peppers right now.
Oh, there you go. I wanted to make sure he didn't get out of all the work.
Monica mentioned earlier that you could add some celery in there in the chat box.
Yeah, that would be a good addition to this recipe as well. So we have our peppers chopped, and we're going to use a few minutes to get all your peppers chopped as well. I should have brought my garbage can out. Keep walking to the garbage can. Shelly, how they look like they're doing on their chopping.
You're doing good. Got a thumbs up over there on Monica's screen.
Hey, anybody else still chopping? Try to get my computer back a little bit so I can see.
It's like Tanya's crew may be chopping just a little bit still.
Okay.
Oh, Jessica's crew over there might still be chopping.
All right, I'm waiting for people to have thumbs up and tell me when you're ready.
We got a thumbs up from Jessica's crew now.
Okay. So the next thing that we're going to chop, we should have a bell pepper. We should have a red onion. Now we're going to move on to our tomatoes. One thing with cutting a tomato, I've been using this kind of knife to cut all my other vegetables so far. I do know that, or I do not know, I will recommend that if you can cut a tomato with something a little more serrated, it's going to make it easier for you cutting your tomato. Okay, so I can't say I have a good trick to the trade on how to cut a tomato without hopefully smashing it to death. A lot depends on the ripeness of it, but I can tell you it all is in the knife that you use.
I want to cut your finger.
We have, my mother has a knife in her that she calls her tomato knife, and nobody better ever take it, and it better never get lost because that's her knife that she always slices and cuts her tomatoes with. So I'm just going to cut the top off of my tomato. You can cut the stem out. Sometimes you can buy those little stem removers to get that stem out, whatever works for you. Once you get that stem out or that hard part of the tomato out, the rest of the tomato is good. So the whole rest of that, you'll be able to cut and slice. So for the sake of this going down flat, where I cut it flat, I'm going to put it down because I like working with a flat surface better. And then I'm just going to slice it this way. Keep your hand away till I'm done. I'll give you a piece to slice in a second. And I'm just going to keep making slices, but because I have a flat surface, it makes it a little easier for it to sit flat. Okay. And then I'm going to start giving Jessa some to dice up, and I'll start dicing up some, but we have 2 tomatoes to get through. So once you cut it into those slices, you're just going to dice it in whichever way dice is best for you. I usually cut it and then strips from those sides and then slice.
I'm crying again. I don't know why.
Still might be smelling those onions.
Where's those onions away?
I did. So once you get one tomato done, you're gonna scoop it up and put it in a bowl. I'm putting all my stuff in a bowl. If you had a really big cutting board, I guess you could just put it in sections of your cutting board. That's why I said this is not a dish-friendly recipe. By the time I'm done, I'm gonna have a lot of dishes. I'm gonna do the same with this one. I'm gonna slice a little slice off the top, have my flat surface, and then we're going to curl our hand, our fingers, and Jessa's gonna take her knife. Here, stand up in front of Lala and I'll show you. Okay. Okay. And we're gonna hold our knife and we're gonna slice it down. So these kids' knives are very good for cutting tomatoes because they're serrated. So Jess and I can cut up this tomato. And then we're gonna turn it this way. It's easier to cut when you're standing and you have it, like Jess is standing on a chair, so she's higher. It's easier to cut when you're a little higher than your counter. So hopefully if you're working in your kitchen, if you need a chair or a stool, you got a stool you can stand on. Now I like tomatoes. If you don't like tomatoes, you might only want to put one or part of one in there. Jessa, do you like tomatoes?
Yeah, I used to have them on a salad, but now I don't have them on a salad.
She likes them on her Subway though.
Yeah, the way that I never have Subway anymore. I don't go to gymnastics. Kind of miss it.
All right. We got all of our tomatoes cut and we're going to put them in a bowl. Then I'm going to watch and see how yours are doing. Stick them up in that bowl.
Yeah.
Jessa's getting her hands.
Yeah.
It's like doing a pumpkin, getting your hands all dirty.
Ew.
Shh, don't squeeze it. because we're just doing vegetables, we can stay on that same cutting board. We don't have to switch. We were doing meat or other things, we would maybe have to watch for that. Well, not maybe, we would have to watch for that cross contamination. So we would have to change our cutting board some.
Give me a tissue again.
So I will recommend though, after you cut your tomatoes, get a paper towel or something and wipe some of those juices off before we move on to our next chopping. I should have saved the tomato for last because it does make the biggest mess.
Yes, it does.
But nothing a paper towel can't wipe or soak up. I'll stick this back up some so I can see what you're doing. See if you have a bowl of tomatoes. I got that. I don't want the juice going on the ground.
Yeah, I'll put the juice on the ground. It would not be very good for we to eat. Yeah.
How's our tomatoes going? Lots of chopping. We're getting our knife skills in on this lesson.
Give a thumbs up.
Somebody give a thumbs up.
Who was it off? Well, I would have seen myself who did it.
Oh.
I'll have one.
All right. How's our tomato chopping going?
Hey, we're doing pretty good. Looks like most everybody.
Callie has her thumbs up. I saw Kendall have a thumbs up. Casey's good. Logan, you good? Got your tomatoes good? Yep. All right. The next thing our recipe kind of calls for, that we got to chop our green onions. They're kind of a decorative, pretty piece on the top. You would have rinsed these off a little bit.
Yeah, I want to whisk one off.
And then, I already did that. And then you're going to peel off that first kind of layer or things that look a little droopy. Here, peel that down, Jessa. Or that's what I usually do. So you peel off that little skin. There's, sometimes they have a little more and sometimes they don't. Yep. So get whatever part of that off down to the root.
Just doing this. It's not very good for kids or grown-ups.
You're complaining a lot tonight. Kick you out of my kitchen.
What? You kicked me out of my kitchen?
And you can do one or two at a time, depending on how your knife skills are. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to cut the roots off the bottom and tip you down. Yep, I'm going to cut these roots off right here.
I'm gonna cut both.
Sometimes when you cut that off, there might be a little more skin you have to peel off if you didn't get a good peel. And then you're just gonna, might not cut with that very well. Rock your knife all the way up, curling your fingers as you go back and cutting up. You can cut all the green of that onion, especially if you gave it a good rinse before you started cutting it. But all of that part of the onion is good. It's edible. You can cut all of it. Jess has already done cutting. She's already crying again. She has tender eyes, I guess. Green onions usually aren't as potent as those red onions, but everybody's eyes are a little different and more sensitive. And there's a lot of crying, a lot of onions in this. So I hope you like onions. I'm glad I like onions. And onions like me. So just remember as you're cutting, if you're cutting with your knife, if you keep the tip down and you rock it and go with a forward motion, that's the best way to dice and do most of your cuts with a bigger knife, such as a chef knife. So we're just going to keep rocking it, curling our fingers, moving it on up So all of our green onions, and you can cut as many or as few as you want. I went ahead and cut all of ours, but I like green onions. The recipe actually calls for the whole bundle, but if you didn't want to use it, you do not have to. Then I'm going to place my onions in a bowl. So I am done. I'm going to discard my onion garbage, and then we'll be back to see how everybody's doing.
See, someone gave a thumbs up.
Someone gave a thumbs up.
Actually, no.
After that, I think most of our cutting is done, unless you haven't crumbled your bacon yet. And usually you can just crumble that with your hands. You don't have to use a knife. So I'm going to
Throw our knives away.
not throw them away.
No.
Put them
Clean them.
in the sink out of our way.
One cool thing about this recipe, and it mentions it in your book, is the amount of color that you will have with your finished product. And so it suggests making a family game out of it with the colors. And one way you can do that is to play I Spy with your meal. And you could say the first letter of an ingredient and then take turns trying to guess what ingredient you're talking about.
Well, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a lot of colors in this. So far, what colors have we, depending on what color pepper you had,
We haven't
you
done
want
a lot yet.
colors, you would have had a green, you would have, my kitchen helper's coughing. We'd have red, we'd have green again, we got yellow.
No.
I think we're gonna get some more yellow. So the other ingredients we haven't got ready for our salad yet is our corn
Corn
and our
on.
bacon, our cheese, and our beans. So my bacon's like this. I don't have to do anything for it. It's already crumbled. I can open it up. It smells good.
I want to smell.
Looks good. So,
I smelled bacon before. It was yummy, but
okay. But if you have to crumble it, make sure you crumble it and have it put in a bowl before we assemble it as well. Take a drink. All right. Cheese. I just have it left in my bag. It calls for 1.5 cups of cheese. This is a 2-cup bag. And as far as I'm concerned, no recipe can have too much cheese. So I'll probably use the whole bag. But
can I go?
we like cheese.
Yes. I actually eat it all the time.
Yep. Justin and Davis will get a bag of cheese out of the refrigerator if I'm not careful and just start eating it right out of the bag.
Yeah.
So I got my cheese ready.
Can I
Then
take
I'm
it
gonna
out
do, you're gonna have your red beans or your brown, whatever beans you want. But most of you probably, if you purchased your red kidney beans. We're gonna do our northern white beans because we like them a little more. I super like cans that have tops like this because it's easy to open. So you just pop it and pull it. Watch your finger. Okay. The most dangerous part of our cans is the edges of these. So it's very careful that you don't rub your finger on these. So even when we're opening cans later or however you might be doing it, you know, this is the most dangerous part and what's going to cut you. It does say our beans need to be drained. So hopefully you got a strainer somewhere. And I'm going to go to the sink. I'm going to strain my beans real quick. Pick up your cup.
Oh, yeah.
If you are using black beans, you would rinse them. Since we're not, if you're using your kidney, if we're using kidney beans, you can look at them and determine yourself if you think they need to be rinsed. So there's our beans. I'm going to hang on to my strainer because we're going to do the same with our corn. Once you get done with the lid of your can, make sure you put it down in your can if you can. So that way it's protected. If, like, you know, you have this in your garbage can, If you push on it, that rough edge that could cut you is not going to cut you. And it's just a safe place to keep it. These are recyclable. You do not have to take the label off to put it in the recycling can or garbage bin at the extension office or at your school. You can, but they don't say you have to take your labels off
I'm quiet.
to go in the
still.
recycle bin.
I'm quiet.
Last ingredient that we kind of have is our corn.
Corn.
And it said 2 cans of corn or 15 ounces maybe of frozen corn. Let me see if that's what it said. Yep, a 15-ounce bag of frozen corn, but it should be thawed. My can of corn isn't as friendly. I have to open it with a can opener. So
That's kind of hard.
So I'm hoping my shoulder works for this.
Mm,
Haven't tried this yet.
no.
So we're going to twist. For those of you who might not know, I was a little klutzy on Mother's Day. And I dislocated my shoulder. All right, I'm going to open both my cans because corn is good and we like corn, don't we?
Mhm. I eat corn all day long.
And we're going to do the same. Now, when you go into here, you just don't want to. Sometimes I've given out before magnets, which will pull that lid out. You just want to be very careful getting this lid out as well. Sometimes you can use something to go down in it and help you a little bit. Okay, but just remember, this is the thing that's going to cut you. Ask Kenna how she knows this is the thing that's going to cut you, because Kenna has been cut by these way too many times. So be very careful with these lids. So I'm going to go to my sink and strain my corn.
Don't get my tippet again.
Can you hand me my other can of corn? So you should be straining 2 cans if you're straining. And remember that they are, if you're using frozen, it should have been thawed. If you have frozen corn from your garden, you could have pulled it out and used it. We have some frozen corn still in my freezer downstairs, but I usually use my corn.
Kenna?
Yes.
I think the recipe calls for 3 cans of corn. This might be one of those things where you can minimize or add more to your liking.
Oh, that's true.
Some folks may have their
like a lot of corn. So you needed 3 cups of frozen corn. So they said, or 3 cans. I feel like my can's going to be about 3 cups. So I feel like 2 cans is plenty. You can decide if you think more. And I forgot to show you in our canned corn, I use the multicolored. So some of our kernels are white. I don't know if you can see that in the bowl or not. And some of them are yellow.
Oh, yeah.
Corn.
Looks like
They have corn that has peppers and stuff in it already. You could have used this in that salad. It would have been really good, as your red pepper and green pepper already diced in it some too. You could just use white corn, or you could do like I did and have a mixture, or you can use frozen corn from your garden. Regardless, you're going to have about 3 cups of corn, and that looks like a pretty big bowl. And I think I'm going to go with just 2 cans because that seemed like a lot of corn.
Yes. It was.
All right, we should have everything ready. We should have our beans, our corn, our onion, our bell pepper, our tomatoes, our bacon, our cheese, and our green onions, and our dressing that we made earlier. So now we're going to start creating our salad. And that's where the fun comes, or hopefully the fun comes. Jess and I are going to create 2 dishes because one, it looks like a lot of food for one person to eat. I removed the onions and she winced. So I'm going to do one in a bowl like this because I thought glass would make it look pretty. And we're going to share that with her grandma or her great grandma. And then we're going to do one in a bowl like this for us, which I didn't have 2 glass ones that size. So ours isn't going to look as pretty in the bowl, but a clear bowl is going to make it look very pretty or more comparable to what it looks like in that picture. So if you saw that picture, it's in a clear bowl. You might not have a clear bowl, but if you want to see all the colors when you're making it, that might be something you'll consider. So if we got my bowls in front of me, I got all my other bowls. I feel like I'm the bowl lady. I have all these bowls. The very first thing it says to build our salad says in a large bowl, layer cornbread, beans, corn, onion, bell pepper, tomatoes, bacon, dressing. Okay, so we're starting with our cornbread. So I'm going to let Jessa fill one bowl while I fill one bowl, and we're going to put, now I like to layer. So I would put even though it acts like it's all one layer, don't crumble it too much. I would put cornbread on the bottom, then stop a little more. I would put cornbread on the bottom, do a layer, then dressing, then cornbread again, and build up. That's just me personally. That way the dressing's not all sitting in the top and you have multiple layers. The recipe calls for it all being layered just as it is from the bottom up. I just think it might make it look a little nicer if you did that twice. So we're starting with a little cornbread in the bottom of our bowl. Then the next thing that goes on top of our cornbread is the beans. So I'm going to give Jessa a spoon and she's going to spoon some beans on the top of in both of our bowls. You might just be doing one.
I'm going to share each of them.
Okay, about half our beans because I'm going to do this twice in mine. All right, that's good. Put a little bit more in this one. A little bit. There you go. All right. Who can tell me what comes next? What's our recipe say comes next?
Corn.
Jessa said corn. Is she right? Everybody agreeing? Look at all that corn. So I'm going to put corn. She's going to put corn next. So on top of that beans, she's going to sprinkle corn. Get a spoon and help her some too. We're going to use about half of our corn because
I can't see what I'm doing.
oh, I'm in your way. Sorry. Because I just think the dressing will mix better if we divide it up and do it twice. All right, I think we're pretty good. After our corn, we're adding our, Jessa's maybe not going to do it, some of our red onions. And remember, you can add as many or as few as you want. And because they're pretty powerful, I'm just going to sprinkle a few on here. I might not use all of my whole onion. I like onions, but I can just by smelling them know they're pretty strong. So then we put our red onion. And Jessa left the building. Okay, after our onion, is everybody keeping up? We're moving on to our pepper. And I had an orange pepper. You might have a green pepper. All right, Jessa. Pepper. Sprinkle some pepper.
Yeah, you're going to have to do my bowl a little.
Scoot over. Sprinkle some pepper. About half of it. That's probably good. Okay. After our peppers comes our tomato.
Tomato.
This is kind of looking pretty. Can you kind of see it?
Yeah.
With our layers. So we're going to put some tomatoes.
I just do something like that. I'm crying.
That's good. We'll save the rest of these for the next layer. And after our tomatoes comes our bacon.
Bacon.
And I'm just going to sprinkle our
Me
bacon.
too.
Because ours is
I want
already.
to bite.
Jessa wants to eat the bacon.
Here, can I have a bite?
Take a piece out of there.
Okay.
Okay. Then goes our bacon. And after our bacon, then Nope, not cheese yet. We put a little of our dressing. So, find your dressing that you mixed a while ago.
And where's my spoon?
I am going to
Huh?
scoop a little
Where's my
dressing
spoon?
on the center and let Jessa spread it out.
Where's my spoon though?
That way it gets spread out evenly across the top some. And remember, if you're doing it like us and doing 2 layers, don't, girl. Obviously, her mom hasn't taught her very well. She just licked her spoon. We're not supposed to do that. Not till we're done. Okay, got our dressing spread. Then we're going to put a little bit of cheese. And we're going to start all over.
Well, I'm going for the onions today.
So we're going to sprinkle a little cheese. I'm going to put that there and you sprinkle it around. And then we're going to start back over. You guys might be faster than us. You might already be on your second layer. We might be a little slow. All right, now the rest of your cornbread's going on for your second layer. Or you might have just decided you were just doing it like the recipe originally called and doing all of in one layer. I just thought it needed a little dressing in the middle too. And you're gonna know it's making a lot.
Always starting over and over.
Okay. Dump that in. Dump that in. 1 bowl done. And after our dressing came our beans, right? We're just repeating everything we did. Finishing up the rest of our ingredients.
Yeah, can I have a cleaner spoon too?
You can use that one.
Yeah.
So then our beans, let's put those on top, spread them around. After our beans, our ratio of beans to corn is not very much, I don't think. So after our beans come the rest of our corn, maybe because people like corn better. I'm gonna dump part of that on yours, you spread it out. I'll dump this on mine because we can finish up this bowl. Spread it in a layer.
Does that look good?
Yeah, your bowl's gonna be really full.
Yes. I don't think we can fit some of this in.
I think we will. We'll push it down. Okay, after our corn, we have our onions.
Yeah.
Just a few. She's leaving the building again. I'm anxious to see how all yours look when you're done too. All right, Jessa, onions are done. After the onions come the peppers.
But I love peppers. I'm kidding. I don't love peppers. I just really good. Ah!
Spread your peppers around. After your peppers, that's good, good. After your peppers comes your, I lost my place. Tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Give Jessa half the tomatoes and me half the tomatoes.
I don't want to wear tomato, like a grape.
Okay, then we
I
got
want to wear tomato.
tomatoes. After the tomatoes, the best part, the bacon.
Oh, what is that in there?
That's the thing that keeps that bacon fresh. And we got the bacon. After the bacon, we put the rest of our dressing. So I'm going to put I'm going to put it in the center like I did the last time and you spread it around. So with your dressing, you might not think like this is a lot. When you get ready to eat your salad, you're going to want to toss your whole bowl. I know it's going to mess up your pretty design, but that's going to mix that dressing in it pretty evenly because there's a lot of vegetables with not as much dressing.
Good, I need vegetables. I have to stay.
Yeah. And so if you end up with thinking that you need more dressing, you got the recipe. You can make more dressing to go with it. Yes, you can lick that now because we're done. Okay. Then we're putting our cheese. And then we're topping it with a green onion because our green onion is pretty much our decoration.
Well, I'm leaving the building.
And then you're just sprinkling a little green onion on top because that's our decoration. And hopefully, so I wanted to make it in one clear one. You have a nice, pretty, not quite as pretty as the picture, layered salad.
Let me see.
Kind of. How's everybody else's looking? Ooh, looks good, Monica. I see yours. That's it. Oh, pretty. Yeah, you're in a bowl like me, right? Yeah, looks good. Looks good, Callie. Oh, Casey, that looks super pretty. Look at Casey's.
Let me see.
I'm going to take these off of me being spotlighted, hopefully, so I can see everybody's more. It's easier to see that way. So that's our cornbread, Southern cornbread salad, all nice in a dish. You know, makes a lot. I hope you're hungry. I hope you like it. I like to know the reviews. It's a little bit different. It's not going to be as good as it's not going to be as good as chicken Alfredo, probably, unless you really like vegetables. Might not be as good as the chicken and dumplings, but it's something different. But I'll tell you, the dressing's really good. So hopefully you'll like it. Let us know. Let Shelly and I know if you like it or not. And make sure you share